So, man, what's doing?
Hey man, just kind of normal stuff. Nothing too crazy to announce. There's been some interesting stock market stuff over the past couple of days.
All right.
But
How about gold and silver, huh?
yeah, uh-huh. Although didn't I think both of them had one, yeah, I think yesterday or day before had a really tough day, but besides
Well,
that it's
yeah,
just
no, that's
kicking
what I
ass.
meant, you know? Like
Yeah.
they've been kicking ass for so long, and then
Yeah.
yesterday they just got like monkey hammered.
Absolutely. Yeah, and currently there's so the past couple of days there's been a squeeze on a stock called Beyond Meat, which is like
Oh
a fake
yeah,
fake meat company.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
been going nuts. That's been kind of interesting. Very similar GameStop situation where um a few retail traders buy a shit ton and then tell everybody about it, and then other degenerates like me jump into it, and you see the limited power that retail has.
hmm But I mean, but that's one of those stocks that the powers that
Uh,
be want to win, whereas GameStop is one where they theoretically don't want it to win, you
Yeah,
know?
I mean,
No?
there's always a balance. There's always a balance. There's like right now, it's just getting beat the fuck down. Like I'm watching it, and so it'll
Well,
be interesting to see what.
because it's bullshit. Like
Of
that's what I'm
course.
saying. Like it,
Oh
but
yeah,
it's part of the agenda.
yeah.
Like to get people to stop eating meat.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
meat is actually healthy, and they
Mm-hmm.
don't want people to be healthy. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
we. I mean, this is like part of the weird thing about like understanding nutrition, which is like we. I mean, for the past couple of decades, it's been drilled into our heads like go vegetarian, go vegan. And then you like find out, wait a second, like there's something else going on here,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
Um, and like, I don't know if you ever heard that like Kissinger quote. Like it's something like, I think it was Kissinger. It's something like, if you control a nation's energy, like then you control them, or but let alone like if you control their food supply, basically
Mm-hmm.
trying to
Mm-hmm.
own
Right.
their energy and food supply. And it's clearly there's been some weird agenda that's tied in with like climate alarmism. And it's like all these excuses and justifications for kind of authoritarian clampdown. Um, but like JP Morgan said, things happen for two reasons: the good reason and the real reason.
Mm-hmm.
Like climate change and climate alarmism are like the quote unquote good reason,
Mm-hmm.
like that we got to make all these changes. But the real reason is ultimately because it's like, all right, we don't want to share the good stuff with people anymore.
Right.
Like we don't want just anyone, like, like at one point, Standard Oil and the big oil companies, they had all this fucking oil and they're like, what do we do with it? You
Mm-hmm.
know, we can make a shitload of money out of it, but we want to find more commercial applications for it to increase demand for it.
Yeah.
And so, that's where big pharma came from. Big pharma was like an offshoot of big oil. They they found a way to, and then they went about demonizing naturopathic and herbal remedies, that have been there for centuries, like Chinese medicine and things like that.
Yeah.
And it went to vilify all of that. And the savior was going to be their big pharma drugs, you know? Um, and so they needed to find commercial applications for it to increase demand for it. And then they could sell it for higher prices and to more people, and then you had like cars come about and everyone was going to, that's when like Henry Ford and, hey, everyone can have a car and Ford will make it cheap enough so his employees can buy it, which will increase the demand. And then that will increase the demand for oil, everything being based on the oil. And
Mm-hmm.
this is like, and look, and for the past couple of decades, I was definitely trending towards becoming more and more vegetarian,
Mm.
you know, and because I thought it was just a healthier option, and the more humane one. And obviously, factory farms are terrible,
Yeah.
so that still holds true. That doesn't, just because the powers that be are behind this, big climate alarmism scam, which
Yeah.
is, which I once believed in too. you
Yeah.
know? And I was like, no, this is true. I remember a few years back, I started questioning out loud to you some of these things.
Hmm.
And now, and honestly, now that like COVID has revealed what it's revealed, it's like all of these narratives are coming from this pretty much the same sources, you
Mm.
know, which, you know, which should make everyone skeptical about them. But people are so like pot committed and emotionally invested and
Hmm.
I identify with these narratives
Yeah.
that even when they start, like when you look at some of these like climate alarmism predictions and how many of them have gone wrong,
Yeah.
it's like ridiculous. But I mean, and that's why like I still love Chris Hedges, but it's like, dude, come on, why can't you just you lose a degree of credibility to me because you can't admit that you got some of these things wrong,
Right. Well, because they
you
want to be
know?
the one to call it, just like with stocks and stuff, right? It's like you want to
Yeah,
be the one who calls it
yeah,
right to get so that you whatever seem like you know what the fuck you're talking about.
right, right. But it's like just be credible. Like I admit, I got the climate change thing wrong. I thought it was true. I was like shit, or I had a little skepticism, but I was just like, no, I was a good lefty, and
Hmm.
if you're a good
Hmm.
lefty, then you don't really question that. And that's
Hmm.
that's that's the ideology identity scam, that both sides play,
Yeah.
you know. But it's ultimately like we all have to have the integrity to admit when we got duped, when we fell for some bullshit,
Well, and
but
personally, I mean, I believe in climate change, but I also think that climate change happens naturally and that the
yeah,
amount that retail, that again, like us, a person like turning off their water while they
yeah,
brush their teeth,
yeah, yeah,
like that's
yeah.
going to save the fucking planet with like one cruise ship per day is
Right.
the same as
Totally.
1 million cars worth of exhaust.
Totally.
One
Totally.
cruise ship. And that's just the first example that comes to my mind. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, oh
Yep.
my God.
Uh-huh.
Holy shit. And then the other thing I was
Totally.
wanting to say about the power thing is with the like actual electrical power is that, yeah, there's like, we know that as people gain access to electrical power, their lifespan goes up, child mortality rates go down, and it's like, so yeah, we don't want you to have that.
Well, right. So right there's
Like
and
so much of modern medicine depends on being able to refrigerate certain medecines. So if you
mhm.
don't have that, it's like, sorry, you're like not in the club, you know?
Yeah.
Like, sorry,
Yeah.
just fucking deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. But there is like weird, and that's where like Jack Kruse comes in because he points out some of the weird things about, say, like electricity and like, like Tesla AC/DC,
Mm-hmm.
that whole
Mm-hmm.
thing. And he's actually like, look, while AC might have been better to power larger areas, AC is actually worse for your health than DC.
Mm-hmm.
And going into how all unnatural light is like basically toxic for you,
Mm-hmm.
which is part of why like I'm like, all right, I'm going to start doing these outside now,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'm going to not look at the screen. Whereas I started putting on the blue blockers, but the blue blockers are only do so much,
Sure.
you know,
Of course.
and not to mention I have like neck issues and shit like that. That like when we were doing them, it was like I don't know, just fucking. It's a pain in the ass having all these injuries and
Mm-hmm.
and so um but yeah, no, it's interesting because it's like the unnatural light basically fucks with your melatonin,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep.
so and once your melatonin is fucked with, it like you're more likely for cancer. You don't like it fucks with your mitochondria. It does all this shit, and that's why like I don't know. I honestly like I have to dive deeper into Jack Kruse, like because I do think he's shining a light on big missing pieces to the puzzle
Mm.
in a way that no one else I'm aware of has quite done that, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I'm wondering why, I don't know. It just frustrates me how he's not catching on with other circles.
Mm. Hmm.
Like I, he, I just don't like this factionalism, you
Hmm.
know, and I feel like, one of his mantras is half truths lead to full lies. And so most of the people that, I listen to, like they're missing pieces of the story, and Jack Kruse is kind of shining a light on some of those missing pieces.
Yeah.
And some of his ideas are being picked up and carried, whether they're giving him credit for it or not.
Hmm.
Um, but but it, it's weird, because he makes beef with, even people I really respect, like Whitney Webb or
Yeah.
Catherine Austin Fitts. Those are two people, but those are two people I've seen him asked about specifically.
Yeah.
And he's like, look, I like them. They do good stuff, but there are things they're missing that prevent them from seeing things more clearly,
Mm.
you know? And, and honestly, I there are ways I would like at some point I really want us to interview Jack Kruse,
Yeah,
you
that'd be
know,
amazing.
that'd be awesome, and
It'll be interesting if he agrees to do that.
well, you know what? His
You know?
approach, his strategy seems in line with that because it seems like what he's trying to do outside of Danny Jones, he's staying away from big podcasts.
Mm.
And I think I see the strategy to it.
Hmm.
Like if he were to go on Rogan all of a sudden, for example, but he said out loud, like he does not like Rogan. He doesn't want to go on Rogan.
Hmm.
He thinks Rogan is kind of some form of either useful idiot or controlled opposition, like in that, people like Rogan or Tucker Carlson, he feels like they're kind of like they're on the payroll of the some of the wrong people, whether they know it or not.
Hmm.
Um, and ultimately they're guilty of the half truth leads to a full lie thing. To which I would argue, okay, but I don't think I honestly maybe I'm wrong, but I really don't think people like Rogan and Tucker Carlson are trying to mislead. I do think that they're flawed human beings like the rest of us who miss pieces of the puzzle. And I don't think Rogan or Tucker are claiming to understand it all.
Hmm.
Um, but they're trying. And I think they come from a place of where they're more from the normie, the normie perspective, and they've been leaving the normie perspective,
Yeah.
you know. And the normie perspective is ultimately, motivated by like ego, identity, because you'll get rewarded for
Yes.
conforming
Of
to
course.
whatever other people are saying. Whereas like someone like myself, I recognize I'm like, you know what? There's certain things I'm not going to talk about or say to certain people because I know how it's going to land, you know, and I'm not just looking to piss people off. I'm willing to, but that's
Hmm.
not like what I'm in it for,
Yeah.
you know? Like I'm not in it like whereas Jack Kruse, I feel like and I understand it because I have this in me too, that thing in me that wants to be like, no, fuck you. You're not doing the full thing,
Hmm.
you know? Like like you're misleading people. You're the thing you're claiming to be in action, you're not that thing, you know?
Hmm.
And and maybe you're making mistakes, but and if you're making mistakes, okay, start correcting those mistakes,
Yeah.
and if you're not going to be correcting those mistakes then I have to start wondering, like, are you just an idiot, or are you working for someone wittingly or unwittingly
Yeah,
that's
that's how I always felt about Bob Lazar, for instance, where it felt
right?
like it's a
Exactly.
design plant that we're getting like
Yep.
50% good information and 50% just like absolutely nonsense. Do I have any evidence at all to
Totally.
back that up? No, it's just a feeling I got
It's yep. Yep.
listening to him talk. I'm like, oh, this guy believes what he's fucking saying. Now,
Hmm.
who, whoever showed him the movie that he's reporting on, I think he's reporting truthfully on the movie.
Yeah.
but somebody showed him a movie, you know, and so you don't
Right,
know, is the movie a documentary they were shown, half? Is
right,
it, you know, because we all know that if somebody is going to reveal some shit that they don't want, either they're going to stop you or right after they're going to just crush you, you know.
right.
So there's something it can't be that damaging.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, right,
It
right.
can't be that damaging. Otherwise, no, we'd see something completely different. You know, they'll be
Mm-hmm.
like, no, we found child porn on your computer. You're going to jail, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
oh, okay, yeah. Okay. At this point, that just lends more credence to the shit you were probably saying, you know. Too
Right,
bad, like, too bad Diddy wasn't trying to like blow the whistle or on some shit, you know. They'd be like, oh, wait, maybe they're just going after you for no fucking reason, you know.
right.
That'd be cool. But anyway. Nope,
Well,
it
I
was just
mean,
the sex
mhm.
parties and the Tucci. You know, the Tucci and the sex parties just got too good. It was hard to stop them. People start expecting them. You know, you throw one every few months, they start expecting them. You feel the pressure, you know. Got
Mhm.
to keep throwing these Tucci parties.
Well, I mean, he definitely seems like he was a different form of Epstein, you know?
Or
Like,
or learn from, you know, I or just learn from the best, copy the best, copy, what is it? Imitation is the sincerest
a
form of
serious form of
flattery.
flattery. Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Which,
I'll just copy, like, oh, that works.
hmm well, but and I'm open to that. I'm open to that. But it, like, did you ever hear that? Maybe you could find it, or I could. That you know Ryan Long, the comedian.
Maybe.
He's great. He's great. He's done a lot of really great fucking these like comedy videos that are
Mm-hmm.
just so fucking good. It's like, for example, it was like one of his videos was like, for my career, he's like, hey, I'm an up and coming actor in Hollywood and I want a virtue signal properly. But this Israel thing is confusing because generally speaking, you know, you want to follow wherever black and brown people are
uh,
saying, and whatever they're saying, whatever Black Lives Matter is saying, then I have to reflexively agree with it, and then my career will move ahead,
mm,
you know. But if I go against them, then it backfires. But with this Israel thing, it's tricky because the Israelis own the
yeah,
entertainment
yeah,
industry. So I really don't know who am I supposed to support publicly and virtue signal for?
yeah, right.
And it's like really great, like kind of cutting edge, edgy shit. And he has this one segment that's about it's like him and this other friend, like comedian friend of his, they do the skit where they're like reading the testimony of one of Diddy's like bodyguards or something like
Yeah,
that. They
yeah.
just they just read the testimony. I should have. I wish I could have sent it to you so we could have listened to it. It is bonkers. It is
uh,
like it is like this security guard or bodyguard's
uh-huh.
testimony, and it's basically like
I've seen
I
those.
think you
I've
might have
seen the
seen it.
test. Not that comedy video, but I've seen the bodyguards interviews. I've seen
Okay,
all of those.
okay.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well,
When
yeah.
that was first coming out, I was following absolutely everything I could find on
Okay,
it, and that
okay.
and that was that's supposedly because then damn that lady, that there was another pop star that released the audio of Diddy and the other rapper guy having sex in the bedroom,
Huh.
and but I think technically the bodyguard was the one that actually recorded it and then gave it to her. Nicki
Okay,
Minaj, I
okay.
believe, if I'm remembering this correctly, or it was the other way around.
Hmm.
Um, Nicki Minaj was the one credited with releasing this audio, but then later on it came that it was recorded by one of Diddy's bodyguards right outside the room. And that's
Hmm.
some raunchy shit, bro. You
Hmm.
don't need to listen to that whole thing, okay? You get the idea after a few seconds, okay, bro? You don't need to listen to the whole thing.
But
I
right
sounded a
when,
little bit like Donald Trump there. That was great.
well, the well, remember we talked. I think we've talked about how like with something like Epstein, Epstein in part like happens because the old way of blackmailing was having photographs or footage or recordings of men being gay.
Sure,
And
anything. Yeah, yeah,
but that
absolutely.
used to be enough. I'm just saying in like the
Absolutely.
1950s, like J. Edgar Hoover bl
Sure.
blowing his assistant was enough to
Yeah.
be like, dude, we got blackmail on you. If we leak this, you're done.
Yeah.
And so he's like, okay, just, you know, tell me what I'm not supposed to look into, and I won't look into it as long as you don't reveal that shit, But then
Yeah.
over time, it's like now, it's like if that got released, people would be like, so, you know? And so that's why you needed to do like like having sex with children kind of thing, you
Yeah, that
know,
got normalized.
where that got normalized.
Like,
But
oh crap, this whole gay thing is normal shit.
yeah, it's no longer, which honestly, I think is fair to speculate and wonder if normalizing that stuff was a strategic move by the people who were most compromised, by the interest groups that were most compromised by them having blackmail on them, exposing that they were gay, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that the one of the few group thinks in pop culture where that's still damning enough or has been in recent times was in the hip hop community. The kind of like whatever black and hip hop community where it was like being gay was like something like looked down upon. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
not or you could go to like the deep south or something. You know what I'm
Sure.
saying? Like those are like the two groups and also those are the two
Do not
groups.
be black and gay in the
Yeah,
South.
yeah, yeah. Right, double whammy. But I think that Diddy, in part was like it was like that was a type of blackmail that still works in that community.
Mm-hmm.
So you could have great control or influence over like hip hop stars and people who want to get street cred within that community, by hey, you go to this party, you get wasted. Next thing you know, these hip hop stars that are like having gay sex, and you're like, what the fuck is going on here?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they're like, dude, either you're down with this or you're out.
Or you're
you
out.
know,
Absolutely.
and then those people are like, shit, what do I gotta do? And it's like, look, you don't gotta do shit, just let that dude suck your dick, and it's like, all right, just close your eyes, pretend it's a girl.
No, take
You
this
know?
Tucci. You won't know what the fuck is going on. It'll be
What's the
fine.
Tucci? What's the Tucci
The
you're saying?
Tucci was like their party drug of choice. It was a pink powder that was like a
Hmm.
mixture. Hold on, let me look up uh
Okay.
mixture of Tucci. That's not how you spell it. There we go. Okay. It's like an elite drug, super more expensive than cocaine. It is basically ketamine, MDMA, cocaine, meth, oxycodone, caffeine, and other designer drugs in it.
Damn.
Yeah, right? Oh, we're gonna have a good time tonight.
Yeah, right. Celebration. Let's do that.
Yeah, so okay, so mostly mostly ketamine, MDMA, caffeine, and then way less amounts of meth, cocaine, MDA, oxycodone, utilone, with an empathogen. I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, me neither.
Levamisole, often used as an adulterant. Yeah, so just some nice shit, bro. Wow.
That's some nice shit.
Damn. Pink Tucci. All right, bro.
But the Ryan Long thing I was mentioning before, It's like we should really find it. It's hilarious. It's like mind blowing because it's like this guy's testimony. It's basically like talking about all of this wild like gay sex with like all of these celebrities and politics. I remember Eric Adams being one of them there.
Hmm.
Dude, like all the names that it mentioned, it was like, holy shit. It was like, this is really how the world works,
Yeah.
you know, behind closed doors. It's like whoever gets the best blackmail on your competition wins,
Right.
you know?
Right. Right.
And so everyone's doing that. And that's at least part of what
And
this,
of your friends, right? You want the blackmail of
and of
both,
you,
right? Keep
totally,
your friends closer,
totally,
right? You
right? Yeah,
know?
your enemy's closer. Yep.
Hmm.
And so I do think that this is ultimately how it's been. And you know, someone like Jack Kruse talks about, you know, how Meyer Lansky was the original Epstein, you
Hmm.
know, and that he's the one that had the footage of J. Edgar Hoover have, you know, like blowing his assistant, you
Yeah.
know, that Clint Eastwood made that movie about, you know, and you know the one that Leonardo DiCaprio plays J. Edgar Hoover in, and uh, and it's like, and that's how they controlled J. Edgar Hoover, and that's why J. Edgar Hoover stayed in power. Well, that and because J. Edgar Hoover, once he learned that was the game, he started compiling blackmail on everyone else.
Yeah.
You know, because he's like, oh, I'm not
Of
going to let this
course.
just happen to me. I'm going to
Yeah.
fucking
Right. No, this works
yeah,
really well.
yeah, this works great. I'll get you on this shit then too, and I see how it's played, and I'll play the
Sure.
game.
Sure.
You know, either you play, you know, either you win or you get played, you know. And he's like, fine, I'll fucking win,
Yeah.
you know. And that's why, I mean, that's why it's like God, like seeing Trump do the shit, like all the shit with whether Israel or you know whatever. It's like, dude, or the Epstein stuff. It's like, dude, they totally got you. And it's like so funny because your base or enough of your base is like so convinced with this narrative that like you didn't do it, that no, you ended the relationship with him and he never got you and you never drink, so you didn't, you know, you weren't vulnerable, you know. And it's like, dude, how are you falling for that bullshit?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
kind of like the way like Democrats fall for like Kamala Harris, like she's some not some fascist fucking war criminal, far right, you know, like everything they claim to hate, you know.
Yes.
Like I don't know if you saw that footage of her she was on stage and then some protesters like, you're a war criminal, you're a right-wing war criminal. And Kamala just like flips out, like doesn't know what to do.
Hmm.
Like she, you know, whatever, you know, it's just like these people are just fucking morons, you
Yeah.
know? Like these people are
Well,
morons.
you would think to be expected to expect something like that and have a plan.
Right? Right?
Like, duh, I would.
Yeah.
And I'm not even in fucking politics. Like that'd be
Yeah.
one of the first things. Like, okay, what am I gonna do when this happens? What am I gonna do when this happens? What am I gonna do when this happens? Like, come up with a fucking plan, a strategy, instead
Right?
of make America laugh again.
Yeah.
Just laugh. Did she
Right,
laugh at
right.
them? Did she laugh with them? Did she? Then she didn't even follow her damn plan. Then it sounds like she didn't even laugh. She
I
should just
know,
laugh.
I know.
If she just laugh at everybody, fine. At least you're consistent. Fucking that takes some guts. Just laughing everyone's fucking face all the time. Okay, I could get behind that. At least you're consistent. Good lord.
Well, how about the shit with like her husband being like one of like doing legal work for Trump, you know?
Mm,
It's like
mm.
it's like George Carlin said, it's just one big club
Yeah.
and
No.
you
Right.
ain't in it, you
Yeah.
know?
Right.
And that's one of the just the greatest lines ever said,
Yeah.
you know? One of the truest things ever fucking said. You know, and all these fools that still fall for this identity shit. You know, like, no, I'm a liberal. No, I'm a conservative. And it's like,
Yeah.
guys, that is so fucking boomer, you know? It's like, and a lot of people in our generation are just basically boomer X, you know?
Yeah.
That's what I call them, you know, these people that like they're the ones who want to make America great again. You know, they want to go back to like the Walter Cronkite that they grew up on, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
like just the one narrative, and we can all agree, you know, Vietnam was bad, but the rest of it's good. You know, Uh,
Now that song's stuck in my head. Why have I done this to myself? Oh,
yeah.
I saw
What?
Rachel took me to a concert last night where it was
What?
Jacob Collier and this guy. Fuck, what's his first? I think it's Mark Thiele, Josh Thiele or something,
Hmm.
who's a mandolin player.
Okay.
Bro, the improvising shit that they did was, I think, absolutely the best part of the show. I mean, they were both just so fucking awesome and insanely good with improvising off of one another and switching up genres and stuff like that. It
Hmm.
was one of the whitest music experiences of my life. I took a picture of a lamp afterwards and sent it to some of the other people I knew who went to it. Like, this is me right now. I'm now shining the white. I'm now glowing with whiteness, like coming out of my body. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God. I mean, it's like I need Jacob Collier to have his heart broken a couple of times, and then we're gonna get some fucking bangers, bro. This guy, this
Uh-huh.
guy, it's just everything's too happy and good, and
Uh-huh.
his parents are too supportive, and it's just
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
God damn it. It's like singing songs about rainbows and a
Yeah.
little bluebird and shit. It's like, nah, bro, like, sorry. Like, you're amazing, brilliant musical genius. This is some lame fucking music, bro. His best shit is covering black musicians' songs, right?
Yeah,
Stevie
yeah.
Wonder and Michael Jackson says like, oh, that sounds
Hmm.
pretty fucking good. But did you write that motherfucker? Fucking no.
No, yeah.
Hell no. Hell no.
Hell no.
Hell no.
Hell
Hell
no.
no. Oh, I nailed that. I got pretty close on that one. That was pretty close.
Yeah,
Um,
Odin does that. It's so funny. He's like one of his best friends, this black kid, and there
yeah.
are a few black kids, and they're like, and then all of a sudden, like one day, he just all of a sudden was just like nonstop being like, "Hell no, hell no." We're like, Odin, be careful, buddy.
No, you can't. It's a meme. It's a meme, so it's okay. These are all famous memes. Emery for a while was going. He was going. Oh, what? He'd be like, "What do you mean, brother?" Just saying, brother. Well, okay, hold 1 second, brother. Oh my
Oh,
God, so good, so good.
so good. Oh man.
Yeah, his meme knowledge is off the chain.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I went out. It was like Maria's birthday the other day, so like
Hmm.
went out to dinner with like her and her family, and they're kind of more like conservative, and me and the mom like always have like pretty interesting talks, and I like
Yeah.
consider myself an independent,
Hmm.
and so does she, but she's really just a Republican who
Yeah.
claims to be an independent. It's
Yeah.
like really because it's like whatever fucking like Mark Levine or you know
Hmm. Hmm.
or like she's always like parroting those narratives.
Yeah.
Um and and I was telling her like and she's always ignorant about like the bad things Israel has done.
Yeah.
So like almost every time we hang out, it's like eventually it just comes down to like this whole thing where I'm telling her all the horrible things Israel's done in recent, since the last time I saw her, you know,
Yeah.
and like including talking about the Charlie Kirk Israel stuff, and she was just like, "Oh, I haven't heard, I didn't know much about that,"
Yeah.
and I was like telling her a bunch about it, and like, it's it's uh it's interesting, and it's interesting because like I guess just like Democrats, it's just like all like they all hyper focus on the same few narratives. Like she was like, "Well, what about that footage of Hamas doing terrible things to Palestinians?" It's like, which I don't know if like on Twitter, it's just like all of these. Like I told you, like there are these like COVID dissidents that are like all blue pilled about Israel.
Yeah.
you know, and so they keep on posting like whatever is the Zionist talking point, like they run with that. And like I just start seeing all these footage of like Hamas doing bad things to Palestinians. And the thing they kept on, and I saw this on like Facebook, all like my Zionist friends and stuff like that being like,
Hmm.
oh my God, like selective outrage.
Right.
Where's the
Right.
outrage for like, why aren't you upset that Hamas is doing terrible things to Palestinians?
Yeah,
And
like
so
the
whenever I
guy. Never mind. I'll say it after you
no
go.
no go ahead. No, you go.
No, because
Go.
it's I'm changing the subject slightly. Like the Charlie Kirk thing happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then really recently, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago, there was some
Mm-hmm.
guy who just went and there he was a college student, I think, and he killed these two girls
Mm-hmm.
who had said so who had posted some negative stuff about Charlie Kirk. And then he went
Mm-hmm.
on like some live stream, was like, yeah, I killed him. It was fucking great or something. And then it just got like no news coverage. It's just like again, it's just like such selective outrage. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
man, it's like, oh, if someone's famous and get killed, it's like a huge deal. But like some
Mm-hmm.
regular
Mm-hmm.
people, that lady on the bus getting killed, these two
Yeah,
like
yeah.
teenage girls, it's like, whatever. They're not
Mm-hmm.
fucking famous, so who cares?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, back to the Zionism thing you were saying, and well.
Well, but no, but that's overall on topic on the bigger picture,
Yeah.
which is
Oh,
like
selective
how
outrage.
yeah, how do you get like people to get outraged about this thing when a very similar thing is
Yeah.
happening, they don't care or
Yeah.
hear about it. And it's like in a way, like it comes back to in my mind at least, this comes back to that Pokemon Go thing, you know, where the economy of action, as they call it, where they're like, they say to McDonald's and Starbucks, like, we can increase your foot traffic by like whatever 20 or 30%. Like, how much is that worth it to you? Like, how much will you pay us if we can promise to get 20 to 30% more people coming into your store, your stores? And and it's like the ability, then you want to do a more nuanced version of it. All right, I can get more people to go to Burger King than to McDonald's, or I could get more people to drink Coke than Pepsi, or vice
Mm-hmm,
versa. Or I can
mm-hmm.
get more people to care about this who's a Democrat as opposed to a Republican, and you
Yeah.
want to start making a more nuanced version of that so that, which is ultimately what, like, right, the Walter Cronkite was, you had everyone drinking from the same pool of ideas and narratives. And then it was like, CNN and Fox News came along and they were like, one was going to be the liberal, one was going to be the conservative,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and you bifurcated it,
Yeah.
it went from the monad to the dyad, right? Like it went from
Right.
the one
Yep.
the one to the good versus evil,
Right.
except you control that this one side's terrorist is the other person's freedom fighter, or the one person's conservative is another person's liberal, or and it's like, kind of like the way like Democrats will just call anyone who's conservative a fascist, you know, and the Republicans will call anyone who's a liberal a commie, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Yeah.
Um, but we grew up in more liberal upbringings, so it was like I didn't really hear anyone calling anyone a commie.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't until like Maria's dad was like, it was like Bill de Blasio's a commie, and I was like, what? It's like who says that anymore?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that's right. I guess I just don't hang out with too many like conservatives, because if I did, I'd probably be hearing that more. Just like, and I'm like, to me, it's like, I once heard this good explanation or theory from these guys that were doing like some pretty good research, and they were basically saying that fascism, is more like, the way I define fascism is, they're like kind of like two competing definitions of fascism, basically. Like, whereas one is like classical fascism, it's like the corporate state, the corporations basically work with the government or buy out the government, and then they work like, you know hand in hand and together. It's like and then once they've bought up, big corporations have bought up all the things of value, then they want to bring in communism. Like, because then the communism is all right. We bought up everything, we've monopolized power and control, and now we want to, all of you to basically not be able to compete with us ever again. And in order to have that, we're gonna have to like get rid of competition, get rid of the marketplace, um, and give everyone more or less what they need. And if they have more or less what they need, then they won't be as desperate to rise up and overthrow us.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which makes a lot of sense in a way, you know.
Yeah.
And the communism is ultimate. And the ironic thing is the Christians who seem to hate communism so much is like communism is almost just Christianity in political form, you know. Like why should someone be having, you know, a 10-course meal when your neighbor is starving?
Yeah.
Like, isn't the whole Christian thing is like, no, you don't let your neighbor starve,
Yeah.
like, maybe you don't deplete your reserves, but you can help them out without just depleting all your reserves,
Yeah.
you know, um, and selling it as a nice idea. Whereas, and that's the weird thing, like, like learning about, some of these like banking oligarchic families that, and the secret societies and like Freemasonry and all that shit, where like
Yeah.
their role in bringing about communism, to kind of help overthrow the old order of like monarchs in the church, or at least undermine their monopoly hold on power,
Mm-hmm.
you know, so that the kind of oligarchic interests that could always be taken out by the church or the king if the king just deemed it, necessary.
Yeah.
Like that was the system they were trying to build up. They were like, we're not going to ever let that happen again to us.
Yeah.
Like that's happened time and time again. We want to build a system where they can't just get rid of us by chopping off our heads, or like the Knights Templar thing with Friday the 13th, with like that French king who just put out the order to round them all up and kill them,
Yeah.
because they were ultimately the first international bankers, you know, that were amassing this great wealth, um, and doing the secret stuff and the secrecy in part at least has to do with that, you know, if if you start publicizing some of these thoughts and ideas, like especially in a devoutly Christian and world, like they'd be like, wait, this is evil and satanic, as opposed to like, look, this is a form of scientific progress. Like we can throw the shackles off in a certain way, but people don't want that because they're like, no, that's going against God,
Yeah. Yeah.
and which was always weird to me about like a lot of the people that were and still are like that Behold a Pale Horse guy, William Cooper,
Mm-hmm.
to bring it back to your Bob Lazar thing.
Yeah.
He I remember
Right.
in his
Similar with him. Mm-hmm.
yeah, he said he's like Bob Lazar is a fucking disinformation agent,
Yeah.
and he wrote that in 90 or 91.
Mm-hmm.
And he was saying like Stanton Friedman was, remember that guy Stanton Friedman,
Sure.
right? Like all these guys, and like, but even him, he was spreading this UFO disinformation, which he later came out and said some of this UFO stuff I published in Behold the Pale Horse, I've later found out was disinformation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I got with that, and they used me to spread that, and I published it, and I came out later and recanted a lot of it. And that guy, Jeremy Corbell,
Sure.
and he works with that guy, is it Bob Knapp or something, who's the guy, that other journalist he
Yeah,
works
of
with,
course.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
Like because I remember when Corbell when Knapp went on Rogan with either Corbell or Lazar or both of them, I
Yeah.
don't remember.
Yeah.
Um, he at one point Knapp brought up William Cooper, but he was like, "Oh yeah." Then we got in with this crazy guy, but that guy was just crazy.
Yeah.
And look, and I think by most accounts, William Cooper is like he's known as Wild Bill,
Yeah.
you know, because he was like an alcoholic, and and honestly, unless you're gonna allege that he was a disinformation agent, which I'm open to, but I don't buy into that. Like I'd have to see some more. I think he was a flawed human being that did his level best to blow a whistle at a time before the internet,
Hmm.
and I think he did a pretty damn good job
Mm.
for being a one man band.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that look, I think if you're going to get in this game, like paranoia is just going to come with the territory, you know, if nothing else, because there's going to be certain things you're not going to have full knowledge of. And you're going to be getting harassed and fucked with and surveilled. And they tried to kill Bill Cooper a couple of
Oh,
times,
well, yeah. Well, and then they did.
then they eventually did. Exactly. And like Bill Cooper was blowing a whistle on like Alex Jones way back in the day, you know. Um, like I'm just saying, like it seems reasonable to me that they'd want to get ahead of the narratives and set up Alex Jones, set up Bob Lazar, set up Brett Weinstein, you know,
Hmm.
um, get these people going, whether they know it or not. Like that doesn't mean that these people know it and are, it could be wittingly or unwittingly. It's really hard to know. Um, but it seems to me like Bill Cooper was someone who was really trying his level best. And then they fucked with him enough and he kind of went to alcohol and then I mean, look, and I get it too, because there are ways I get really salty with people, you know, and I end up turning people off. And I'm not trying to, but it's tricky. Like, being like living, for example, like living in New York City. Like, remember that time with Mr. Difficult when right after the Boston Marathon bombing,
Hmm.
and it was like me when we were having like Mr. Difficult practice,
Hmm.
and I was talking about. Remember they were doing that weird shit with Boston where they were like shutting down Boston
Hmm.
for like a short brief time and doing all this weird shit, and they like killed some people in like a 7-Eleven or something.
Mm.
Do you remember? And I was bringing all this shit up and being like, what the fuck is going on?
Mm-hmm.
And then Don got really like reactionary to me.
Because
And
he's
he was
from
like,
Boston.
well,
Hmm.
he's from Boston. He's
Yeah.
like, Josh, he's like, I've had enough of your conspiracy theories. And it was just like shortly after the Boston Marathon bombing. So it was like fresh. And he was like, how dare you question this? You know?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Mm.
look, all I'm doing is questioning. I'm not saying I know what's going on. I'm
Yeah.
just saying,
Yeah.
trying to point out inconsistencies and things that seem weird to me,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And he's like, it was like, he was like, Don's a great guy, He's not
Yeah.
a
Of
bad guy.
course.
He means well, but he's like, I'm not comfortable with you spreading this
Hmm.
misinformation.
Hmm.
And I'm like, I'm not claiming to know what's the real truth is. I'm just trying to question things. And why are you like having this reaction to it? Like,
Yeah.
like you and I experienced this,
Yeah. Of course. All the time.
but you have a much better bedside manner than I do with this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Mm.
I come out it and I just spit it out in a raw way. You're you're a much more, how should I say, you have a better bedside manner about it,
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe
know?
so. Well, it's kind of part of my job. So, but I mean, I
But
guess even then, yeah. Mm.
but I'm just saying, like you know me, I'm like the wolf,
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
for better or for worse, it's almost like Jimmy Dore. That's why I gravitated towards him. Like, like some people are like, I don't like him. He goes on these rants and whatever. I'm like, well, whatever. It's like like I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the rest of you are like, well, we must not upset, we must not make people clutch their pearls or their monocle fall out,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And I'm like, no, you motherfuckers. Like, don't you see what's going on? Like, I'm going to call balls and strikes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if a Republican is watching the
Yeah.
baseball game and
Yeah.
that Republican pitcher throws a ball 5 feet above the batter's head, they're like, it's still a strike, and our job is to call balls and strikes,
Mm-hmm.
not to fall in for groupthink.
Yeah.
And it's like, and whether it's that time with Don after the Boston Marathon or whatever, like me with Jeff that time, it started with questioning Black Lives Matter
Mm-hmm.
and LGBTQ narratives, which again, doesn't mean at all I'm against, you know, civil rights or
Yeah.
quality. It's just like, no, this is being used, just like Israel, is being used to like get Jewish people to fucking become the thing that they once claimed never again for,
Mm.
and now they're the biggest promoters of that Nazism, but
Yeah.
they don't view it as Nazism because they're not wearing a swastika. And it's like Nazism isn't about wearing a swastika. It's not about having a toothbrush mustache. It's about dehumanizing another set of people
Yeah.
to the point where it's okay to do whatever the fuck you want with them,
Yeah.
you know. And while I'm not a conservative, I had a problem with like how like January 6th is being used to, for example, like they were putting people in solitary confinement for like long periods of time who just happened to be there that day protesting
Mm-hmm.
because they thought the election was stolen. I don't know if it was stolen or not, but
Mm-hmm.
but they thought it was, and that's their First Amendment right to fucking go and protest for that
Yeah.
shit. Whether I agree with them or not. Like, free speech is there to protect unpopular speech. And if you don't agree with that, I'm sorry, but you're not a liberal.
Mm-hmm.
You're a fucking fascist,
Yeah.
And I don't care whether you say Black Lives Matter or LGBT, you're still a fascist,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But you think because you're wearing BLM or if you're a Jew and you're not wearing a swastika, that you're not a fascist,
Yeah.
And I'm like, we've switched out your coffee with Folgers crystals,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, I get a little pissed about it and worked up about it, and maybe I turn some people off to that, but it's like on the other hand, it's like, dude, this shit's happening right in front of our faces. Are we supposed to just sit there and be nice about it? Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, huh. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And I can't, and to bring back to Bill Cooper, I can't fully blame Bill Cooper for fucking, getting pissed about it, I
Yeah.
can't blame Jimmy Dore or Jack Kruse for getting fucking pissed about it.
Yeah.
Whereas
Yep.
I get why, like, when I send Jack Kruse to people, I have a lot of people who I know who are really sick now, like
Mm.
really sick in various ways. And I'm sending them Jack Kruse and stuff like, guys, this guy will save your fucking life.
Mm.
Okay. He will save your health. He saved my health.
Mm.
I never thought I could turn my health around. And I followed his protocols and it's totally saved my health. And this will save your health. And they watch him like, he's too much of an asshole. I can't watch him. And I'm like, all right, well, it's your fucking life,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, that's just insane to me. That shouldn't, yeah, but people, yeah, that shouldn't change the quality of the
The content.
information,
Yeah.
Darn.
Yeah. The style should not trump the content and the
Yeah.
substance,
No, it shouldn't.
you know? It shouldn't. And I'm willing to have empathy and compassion for the wounded animals. And I'm one of them,
Yeah.
who sometimes are a little salty about it and a little bit loud about it, but we're not trying just to be dicks. But sometimes it just comes out raw and unfiltered and just
Sure.
direct communication. And that doesn't mean we're trying to hurt anyone,
Yeah.
you know? And trust me, it hurts me when I hurt others.
Mm.
So I hate the fact that I do sometimes hurt others.
Mm.
Even though like the punk rock part of me is kind of like, well, if like, but do I like that suicidal tendency song, like, well, if I offend you, I'm sorry, but maybe you need to be offended,
Hmm.
you know,
Right.
because maybe you're being a hypocrite in ways you don't realize. And the other thing that's going to wake you up from that is a fucking alarm clock that's really fucking loud. Not
Yeah.
like a ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll snooze that, hit the snooze button. No, no, no. There's no snooze button for this shit. So, I'm waking you up from your fucking beauty now, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh.
And it's funny because part of what like Jimmy Dore does, it's like cathartic for me to listen to him sometimes,
Yeah.
and I can see how other people might be turned off by him, but it's cathartic and therapeutic for me because it's like, oh my God, I'm not fucking going insane. I'm just being rational.
Yeah.
I'm not the
Yeah.
only one calling balls and strikes here, you know? I don't know how you remain so even keel. I'm truly impressed and a bit jealous.
Ah.
What's
I
your
mean,
secret?
at this point, like I just made the on my website, I'm making 3 different free courses for people.
Uh-huh.
At first I thought I was gonna charge for them, but I'm not like popular enough to do that. I need to like
Uh-huh.
get people to my
Right.
site
First one's
and shit
always
like that.
free.
You know, I need to get that shit rolling.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And that's the feedback I got from other people that have started similar businesses and stuff, is that you can give away the knowledge for free. Anyway,
Yeah.
because no one gives a shit, just like we're talking about.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
and the like, the one person out of 100 that does fine, then that will be one of my customers or somebody who wants to pay me to work with me. Most people aren't going to
Hmm.
give a shit.
Hmm.
But anyway, the at this point I can put it into words where through the IFS framework, which is called internal family systems, and it's a particular framework you can use when with understanding people,
Hmm.
and it simplifies it. That's part of my issue with it. I had a lot of resistance to the framework because I think it really simplifies our experience, but that in some ways that's actually the point, because it's trying to give people words or terms to use to be able to talk about our inner experience, which is like really, really complex. Because what even the fuck is going on? What even
Hmm.
are emotions? What even are memories and trauma? What
Right.
even is that? I mean, it's really
Right.
hard to describe. It's a
Yeah.
really complex experience. Anyway,
Hmm.
internal family systems posits the idea that there's 3 inner intelligences: the inner child, which are all of our hopes and dreams and
Hmm.
wishes. There's the inner critic, which is a protector, but that is mega critical and judgmental and highly intelligent. It tracks all of our and everybody else's mistakes in perpetuity, with its main design is to protect us from making those mistakes again. So the inner child would be like, I want to be a famous ballerina. And then
Yeah.
the inner critic will be like, no, don't do that. They'll think you're stupid, or you're like a
Yeah.
boy, you
Yeah.
can't do
Yeah.
ballet,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
like, remember the last time you danced and everyone laughed at you? Don't fucking
Yeah.
do that
Yeah.
again. So it'll
Yeah.
come up
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
the reasons why, the judgments and criticisms, why that isn't possible, why you shouldn't do that. Just sit in your room and don't do anything. Don't take any
Don't take
chances.
any
That's the safe
chances.
way.
Yep.
That's the safe
Yep.
way. And then there's the inner authority, which deals in truth, which is can be used to broker an agreement between the two parts. That the inner that interestingly, the inner child and inner critic both want the same thing, which is to be listened to, and then
Hmm.
action taken on the requests.
Okay.
And so what that yielded for me first with around my for me it was more like anger issues that I wanted to overcome. It was
Hmm.
actually going towards that, which I didn't know at the time. I didn't have the vocabulary at the time that normally when I'd have like angry thoughts or like rage thoughts or something like that, I'd be like, oh no, this is terrible. I got to stop. And like
Uh-huh.
I'd smoke some weed or do something else
Hmm.
or try and distract myself. But then lo and behold, they would keep coming back.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, because by saying like, oh shit, this is terrible. I don't want to look at this stuff. You're literally telling your system like, oh, this is really important. Like bring this up again later
Yeah.
because this is
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
fucking important because we're having a huge reaction to it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so and really going into those thoughts and allowing them and taking them all the way to the end
Uh-huh.
was what made them stop looping without my permission. And so now most of the time when I'm talking with people, if I identify that it's their inner critic talking, then to me, I know that their prefrontal cortex is off. Their ability to listen, learn, be creative or intelligent is off. It's off. So while the inner critic is going, if I realize that I'm talking to someone, and that's what I do as a therapist essentially, is I'm internally going, who am I talking to right now? Am I talking to their inner critic? Am I talking to their inner child? Or am I talking to the inner authority? Mostly I, as the therapist, am modeling being the inner authority. As the trust in the relationship grows, if it does, I will start to reveal more of my inner child to them as as the trust is there. But initially, I am just modeling the inner authority. So it means I'm going to listen to their inner critic until they're done. And
Uh-huh.
usually the inner critic goes, oh, and then
Yeah.
they do
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
and then they get kind of quiet, and then they go like that.
Yeah.
One big breath.
Yeah.
And then I know, oh shit, their prefrontal cortex may come back on now, maybe. But normally I'll ask a question or I'll do reflective listening or something. So are you saying this? So you're pissed off about this, blah, 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 blah. And a lot of times that triggers a new wave of emotion. And it's like, okay, here we go
Yeah.
again.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah.
you do that, you do that, you do that until finally the inner critic is done.
It's
And it depends
exhausted.
how old the person
Mhm.
is and how
Mhm.
long or how hard they've been repressing the stuff. They may
Yeah.
have 30 years of fucking backed up shit. And it's like, okay, like keep going again, keep going and going. So eventually get it all out. And then once the inner critic is totally heard and the person begins to calm down, their prefrontal cortex comes back on, they're able to think about what they actually want to do about those issues. They're generally their ideas are as good or better or the exact fucking same as the things I'm sitting over here thinking, wow, I really think you should do this. And blah, blah, blah. Or like, I think that this would be good if they tried that. Once their prefrontal cortex comes back on, then I ask them, well, what the fuck do you want to do about this?
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
just said XYZ, what do you want to do? And then then their answers are as good or better because they know themselves better than I do. Their answers are as good or better than what I was thinking about. And then there's the other flip side. I mean, often I'm dealing with people's inner critics, right? A lot of times, if there's emotion going on, you know, it's most likely I'm dealing with their inner critic. Once their prefrontal cortex comes back on, then you can engage the idea of what do you want? What do you actually want? What are your dreams? What do you want to do? What's important to you? And those answers will be the inner child. So I'm trying to get the inner critic and inner child totally heard. For most people, it's going to be the inner critic. For younger people, it's their inner child. They're fully their inner child. They're like, I want to do this, but my parents are saying fucking no, you know, or something like that. You know, this is what I want to do, but no one's supporting me, or no one's hearing me, or no one's understanding me, or something. For younger people, it's mostly starting with the inner child and just encouraging the inner child, like, no, look, that's fine to want to do that. Like, I know you want to, you know, play soccer with your friends instead of do your homework. That makes fucking sense, bro. Like, I know your parents have a stick up their ass because they think school is like the most important fucking thing. But no, playing sports with your friends is also really fucking important when you're a kid, and your desire to do that is totally fine. Let me be an adult who's not a part of your family to let you know that totally makes sense. And I think you should fucking do that. You know, fuck your parents. Because only once you go play soccer with your friends, maybe after that, you might consider doing homework, right? You know what I'm saying? Maybe at that point, you'll consider it anyway. because maybe homework is okay. I don't know, right? So that's a lot of what how I cognize what I do now. And so if somebody's in their inner critic, if somebody is being their inner critic, they cannot listen to me. They cannot learn. They will not remember anything I say. Their brain is off. Their prefrontal cortex is off. It's off. So until they either calm down or something else happens, or through me listening to them and letting them, it's like when you need to throw up. It's like you're not thinking about anything else. It's like it's terrible. And then once you totally throw up, God, how good do we feel afterwards? Finally, once you finally get it out, it's like, oh my God, there is like a God or something. It's like, oh God.
Yeah.
So a lot of what I do now in terms of how I think about it in terms of words is if the other person's in their inner critic, they're not going to be able to listen to me. They biologically, physiologically cannot listen to me. Their prefrontal cortex is off. They've become a total mammal, and there's only 6. We have 6 options open to us when we're over emotional: fight, flight, freeze, appease, have sex, go to sleep. Those are the only things, the only options you're going to have, or another person's going to have once we're over emotional. If that continues on, then even that switches off and we become instinct based, which means we just start taking action. When the bear jumps out, we don't get pissed off at the bear. We just run. It's just action based. We won't like pitch a fit about it or just argue with the bear. Why are you doing this? I want to speak to your manager or something. No, we're out of here. It's just the thinking shuts off, right? It's like the thinking is a liability in a survival situation. It's like move, do something, take action, Anyway, I'm just kind of saying the same things over and over. That is, I would say, in words, part of what, if somebody's upset, they can't learn. They're not going to be able to listen to me. So I've got to kill time. I've got to listen to them. I've got to ask them questions. I've got to try and understand them, this part of them. Because if we listen to the inner critic at regular intervals, it stops being such a fucking asshole. But most of the time, we don't want to hear what it has to say. So we're like, no, shut the fuck up and go back into your basement. Shut the fuck up. And so eventually it starts saying it won't give up. It will just keep ramping up the rhetoric. It will just keep ramping up until we finally hear it, or until other people finally start listening. Because it's like, I'm unhappy. It's like, I don't care. It's like, I'll fucking kill you. It's like, oh shit, I guess I'll listen to you now. Like I will fucking kill you if you don't do what I say. It's like, oh damn, okay. It'll take it as far as possible. And I would say, I think in a lot of ways, that is the actual root of fascism. It is the inner critic, because the inner critic its job is to protect me. My inner critic's job is to protect me. Fuck everyone else. And to me, that is what fascism is. It's the protection of myself, even if it means I got to blow everyone else up, right? It's or nationalistic fascism. We are the best. Blow anybody else up who doesn't love America. America, fuck yeah. We're bringing freedom to you, whether you like it or not. To me, that is the root of fascism. Because if we're in our inner child or inner authority, then our ability to be compassionate, empathic, stuff like that, that's actually a natural ability. It's related to survival. You actually want your neighbor to survive, because as they survive, that increases your chance of survival. We actually do want to love our neighbor as ourselves, not because it's just nice and makes us feel good. It means we have a better chance of surviving. If both of my neighbors are surviving right now, I have a chance of surviving. If they're starving, that does not bode well for me in the future.
Yeah, agreed. It's the idea of, yes, you can just focus on yourself as long as that works. But when all of a sudden, if it's to the exclusion of focusing on yourself, it's to the exclusion of being able to be aware of what's happening outside of you, and then that is, a few moves down the road in the great chess game is going to fuck you, then you better become aware of that stuff.
Yeah.
But not everyone has the ability to become aware of that.
No, and that's the first step, is the awareness. Is like, identifying in myself or another person? Is my inner critic talking right now, or someone else? It is the awareness first. The awareness
Mm-hmm.
absolutely comes first.
Mm-hmm.
And that in some ways I think kind of changes everything, because as opposed to identifying with that side of myself or with the other person, I when the other person is being the inner critic or with that, it's like, oh, I'm not talking to them. I'm not talking
Mm-hmm.
to that person anymore, right? We know when somebody's fucking pissed off and they're just saying mean shit. Later on, when their brain turns on, they're going to be back to themselves and they're going to go, "Oh my god, I can't believe I said that shit. I'm so embarrassed or regretful or whatever."
Yeah, which
You're not
reminds me.
dealing with them. When I'm being
Yeah,
critical and judgmental, that's not actually me. Later on, my brain will turn on and I'm going to go, "Oh god, why did I say that dumb shit?"
yeah, yeah. No, I know. Like that makes me think of the other night. It was Maria's birthday, and we went out for to dinner for her birthday. And like before we went out to dinner, we were like at her place for a few hours, and she's been in a little bit of a rut with her life. Like she's kind of like this is not how she envisioned her life to be.
Yeah.
Um, uh, she, I guess it assumed she would have a family or I don't know, whatever, all these
Mm-hmm.
other things.
Yeah.
Um, and and I would argue part of the issue is she's, I don't know, for lack of a better word, she's a bit passive.
Mm.
Um, in that she like for example, the other day was her birthday and she was like, I either want to go let's walk across the Brooklyn Bridge or go to the Tenement Museum or,
Mm-hmm.
or this other
Mm-hmm.
option. And I
Yeah.
was like, okay, it's your birthday. We'll do whatever you want. You just let me know and we'll do that.
Yeah.
Just figure out whatever you want to do and we'll do it. And then, so I get over to her place and I'm like, oh, what do you want to do? And she's like, oh, I'm still not sure. And it's like, okay, well, whenever you figure it out, we'll do it, and no pressure, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm a Taoist. I'm cool where we are right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
I'm in no hurry.
Yeah.
Um, but then an hour went by, and she's like, oh, you know, I wanted to do X, Y, and Z, but an hour has gone by, and the
Right.
weather is not not exactly cooperating,
Right.
and this and that, and it's like, okay, well,
No,
again,
and that's the
I'm
inner critic. The inner critic doesn't want us to do anything,
mm-hmm.
because
And
if you do something, you might mess up. Other people might notice. You might get made fun of. It'll come up with anything. No, it's about don't do anything. Don't do anything. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and and so this went on for like, I don't know, a few hours. Let's say almost like 3 to 4 hours or something. And the whole time, whatever, we're just like lying down and it's nice, I'm just like holding her and we're having a good time. We're having a good time. And, but then every so often it's like, oh, we should do X or Y or Z. And it's like, okay, like, let me know whichever one you want and we'll do it. But then, just time goes by, and then she's getting like annoyed with herself. Like,
Right.
why do I always do this? And
Right.
why,
Right.
and then the inner critic is judging herself for it. And I get it, but at the same time, and I'm not saying, and the whole time I'm like biting my tongue.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really weird because this is a big difference between me and her that, like, there's all these times when she's like, oh, I want to do A, B, and C, but then she doesn't. And it's just like, all right, then just either do it or don't do it. Either way. Like whatever. Shit or get off the pot, but whatever. Like uh and and then like, she's like, let's do a tarot card reading.
Yeah.
She takes out her tarot cards and it's like, we'll do a tarot card because she used to do tarot card readings for us. And I always really liked it. Because I don't really know that much about tarot cards, but I view them at more or less as like a good springboard, you know. it like it just helps you springboard into interpreting whatever might be going on underneath, you know,
Yeah.
and so she was like, all right, well, I'll ask, and she's like, we'll have Chat GPT do the reading or the interpretation for us. And I'm like, okay. And mind you, leading up to this, I'm biting my tongue because I'm like, it's just a little tricky to see someone you love uh, being stuck in that cul-de-sac,
Yeah.
going around in circles. And it's like, look, you can, I guess, if you want to just stay in the cul-de-sac, stay in the cul-de-sac and just then be in the cul-de-sac and that's be here now in that cul-de-sac. But instead she's like, should I make a left turn, should I make a right turn, should I make a left turn, should I make a right turn? And after a while it's like, it's almost like I don't know, like it's almost like hard not to like lose respect for them, or I don't know, or have a negative reaction to it,
Of
you know
course. Well,
you
because the
know
other person's inner critic will try and turn on our inner critic
mm-hmm mm-hmm and
because we have mirror neurons,
yeah
right? That's like it's yes, exactly.
mm-hmm
And anyway, I could talk about that forever because I just made the fucking free online course about it a couple weeks or maybe a week and a half ago. Finished it, so it's like, and it's shit I say all the fucking time, bro. It was so amazing making that video because it's just like I just like turned a switch on in my head and my mouth was like. It was like playing a song you played 1,000 times, like a stand-up comedian.
yeah.
Same joke 1,000 fucking times.
Uh-huh.
It's not even about remembering the joke. It's like the speed. It's like how you say it. It's like how much emotion you're putting behind it, how like present you can be, stuff like that. It's
Totally.
not the
Uh-huh.
material anymore. It's fucking
Uh-huh.
amazing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the material's just a springboard.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Yeah. And basically like we end up like, she wouldn't even like tell me her question. She's like, you asked the tarot cards a question. She
Right.
like wouldn't tell me her question, which I was like, okay, you don't have to. But I
Yeah.
was like, it's like in my mind, I was like, that's unfortunate that you don't want to tell me the question.
Yeah.
Like, so she asked Chat GPT the question, and she reads the interpretation to me, and through reading the interpretation to me, I'm like, I can pretty much figure out your question, from the interpretation.
Right.
But whatever.
And
And
it's just so
then,
profound because that's the inner child. See, that's the inner child saying, I want to do this, or I want to know this question, or right. And it's like it's like being reticent, or like not wanting to show our inner child. Exactly
uh-huh.
right. Yep.
Yeah.
Because this is around her wants. Because the question is, and it's the most essential question that we are like doing all day every day is we ask ourselves, what do I want? And the inner child answers, and then either we take action on it if we have a really good relationship with the inner child, or inevitably the inner critic is going to step in and say why you shouldn't do that or what could go wrong. And then who do we take action on? Who do we listen to? Do we only listen to one? Do we listen to both? Do we what do we end up doing? What does our behavior then end up doing? Because then the behavior releases the neurochemicals that's then going to either and create the neural pathway. So it's like if every time I ask myself, what do I want to do today? And it says, I want to make cupcakes. And then the inner critic comes in and goes, no, you're too fat. You always want to make cupcakes. We're not making fucking cupcakes. And then I don't. I've now strengthened that neural pathway in my mind of when I ask myself what I'm going to do, and the inner critic says, no, that's what I'm going to do. Or do we listen to both? And we go, okay, inner critic, actually, you're wrong. I'm not fat at all, but you're concerned about me like gaining weight. Okay, understood. How about we'll make cupcakes, but we're gonna make sure we only eat 2 today. We'll give half to our neighbor who loves our fucking cupcakes. Right? It's about listening to both. Both need to be listened to and taking action on. Especially the inner child. The inner critic, probably not everything, but it probably will have some good points. That's the thing. It's so highly intelligent in that one area. It's like, I want to tell my mom about my getting my new job. I hope she's so proud of me. And the inner critic is like, bro, your mom is a bitch. And every time you tell her something good, she turns it around about how you're not making enough money and that you've always been a failure and that you need to send her some money from your new paycheck. It might be fucking right. Like maybe don't tell your fucking mom. Like it might have a good point. You know what I'm saying? So the inner critic that has some good points. It's not that it doesn't have good points. It's that it's an asshole in the way that it talks. It will always be a critical, judgmental asshole. It is the bouncer of the club. That's its fucking job. We just don't want it being the manager of the club. We don't want it hiring and firing people. We don't want it doing customer service with the customers that aren't drunk and rowdy. We do want it kicking the motherfuckers out that are being assholes. We do want it doing that. That it does have a job. It's taken millions of years of evolution to get to this point. There's an absolute purpose to it. And that's and part of what I learned from this book, and normally I hate self-help books, but this one was called Embracing the Inner Critic. And it was so brilliant because that's kind of the main thing is it talks about the inner critic in a positive way. It's like, actually, the inner critic is one of the most highly intelligent systems of intelligence that we have in our system. It watches everything we and everybody else does with unerring accuracy, with every fucking mistake we or somebody else has ever made, and remembers and logs all those. It's so highly intelligent. We have to see it, try to see it in a positive light. Otherwise, there's no way we're going to listen to it or want to take into consideration its concerns for us or other people, you know, because sometimes it's going to have some good fucking points, right? That's most of the time it's going to go way too far, and it's going to be like, nah, look, I hear what you're saying, but I'm still going after what I want. But that one thing you said, oh yeah, fuck that guy. You're right. I got to go in like 5 minutes.
Okay. No, but it's kind of like, you know, that saying that the analytical or thinking mind is a great servant and a terrible master. You know?
Yes, exactly right.
The inner critic is
it actively wants to be the master. That is the it wants to be in control.
It wants to be the master
so bad.
And honestly, as it's interesting that you put it this way, because you know, it's helped, you know, since you said it, whenever you said it, like whatever, half an hour ago for the first time, it's ringing really true in me that how much real estate my inner critic dominates within me.
Right. And that's what it wants. Yeah. And that's what it wants. And it's doing that to try and protect us from harm, from getting hurt. It actually has a good mission, you know? It has a good mission. It's not evil. It's not evil. It's not bad. It's not. Yeah.
But it's like there needs to be a balance that's struck. Like the bouncer has to be there when you need the bouncer.
Absolutely right.
You know, if you have no bouncer, then things could get weird.
Oh God!
Because all of a sudden you could find yourself kidnapped or held
Absolutely
hostage,
right.
and then now you're gonna be like, "Why did I fire that bouncer, that bodyguard? That thing protected me." It's like because that bouncer bodyguard was trying to take over. What you needed was that bouncer or bodyguard that did their job well. And then your inner child that does its job well, and the two strike a balance.
And we use the inner authority. We use the part of us that just deals in truth. That is
well, because it was like what I was saying,
which is like the divine or something, right?
It's balls and strikes.
Right.
The inner authority wants to be able to call balls and strikes accurately. But if you're too dominated by either the inner child or too dominated by the inner critic, then you think just like Republicans think every pitch a Republican throws a strike.
Exactly.
So it's like that.
And you will suck as a baseball player. As a hitter, you need to be able to identify
what's
the reality of that. Of course, you want it to go into your strike zone. But it's not going to every time. You need to be able to go, it's in there. No, it's not. You know, and there's a part. The inner child wants to swing at every pitch, right? It's like, yo, we're home running this pitch every time, bro.
Every time.
And the inner critic's like, don't ever swing at it. You know, they're trying to trick you. They're
trying to trick you. Totally. It's just like poker, where it's like someone. You make a raise and someone re-raises you and you're like, this motherfucker's full of shit.
Right.
You're like, they're full of shit. They're trying to pull one over on me. And it's like, maybe they are, but maybe they actually have the nuts and maybe you got to fold and get out. Maybe you got the second best hand right now, and you got to get the fuck out. You know, and having the balance between like what is your fear and paranoia versus what is your real instinct, and you know, like, I guess the real instinct is balancing between the fear and
Exactly.
the fear and the hope,
because both are right.
They both have a point, and
they're both going to have really excellent points. What our hopes and dreams are, those are our hopes and dreams. That's not bullshit. That's not made up. And then the possible errors that could occur, that's real life. You know, there's going to be errors, mistakes, barriers, people who are trying to beat us down, our own self-doubts. Yeah, that is also reality. Yeah, that's also true. And then how do we not, because it's about behavior. It's about behavior. Like we can, because like they've determined like being brave is not the absence of fear.
That's right. It's overcoming the fear.
It's feeling the fear and doing it anyway.
Yeah, doing it anyway. Exactly.
So it is about having that both are there and that are because and honestly, that's the shits that's the most inspirational, either of our own behavior for ourselves or other people. It's not when people do shit that's easy for them. It's when they do shit that's hard for them. That's what's inspirational. Or when internally, like when I wanted to make the courses, really, and I even put this in the Inner Critic course, which I thought was really smart. I was talking about how I really wanted to make this course, and it's really important to me. I think this is really fucking important for if it works for you, it fucking works for you. And it definitely worked for me. Is that even my inner critic is like, don't do this. You know, no one will like it. You'll fuck it up.
They laugh at
even
you
my inner critic is trying to stop me from making the Inner Critic course. That's about actually listening to your inner critic. It's like, you know, it's like, but I still had to do it. And those times, that's, I think, when we're the most proud of ourselves is it's not when we do the easy shit that's easy for us. It's when our inner critics go, our inner child goes, I want to be a musician, you know? And the inner critic is like, no, don't fucking do it. And then we do it anyway. Oh, damn. It's like, wow, holy shit, you know, like, and the inner critic will revise once it sees that the inner critic wants us to win, quote unquote. And once it sees that a strategy actually makes us win more than its previous strategy, it will switch right away. The ego wants to win. Once it sees that running, it's like, you know, run the ball every time, run the ball every time. And it's like, we're not doing so well. And we're like, hey, maybe we should try throwing it some. And the inner critic's like, no, that's dangerous. You can get it intercepted. You know, that's terrible. That's terrible. But then you win some games by switching it up. And then the inner critic's be like, oh yeah, this is the way to do it. You know, fuck this other team. We're going to fuck them up. We're going to mess with them. We're going to run it and throw it sometimes. So the ego resists change. But then once it sees, if it works better than the previous strategy, it will switch right away. But it will resist trying that. You know, it'll be like, no, don't do it. You might fail. It's like, you're right. We might fail, but we're going to do it anyway, you know? As like the ultimate, that's the inspiring shit, either for ourselves or other people. And it's the behavior. It's not that they had doubts. It's not that I had doubts that makes us bad or not confident. It's the behavior. Do we end up doing it anyway? Because that's called regret and shame. Don't do that. Then we have regret and shame. And that's the hardest shit for people to process out of their system is regret and shame because of past. I mean, regret and shame does live in the past. That's when the inner critic the inner child said, I want to do this. And then we fucking didn't. We didn't even take one tiny step in that direction. And then we have regret and shame over that. We go, I knew. That's called the midlife crisis. That's like, I knew I wanted to be a ballet. I knew I wanted to play do ballet, but I work at an accountant's office. And what's interesting is the accountant's office isn't the issue. It's that we never even went to a ballet class. It's that we didn't dance ballet for 10 minutes every night when we got home from work, even though in our heart we really did. We knew, if I would just dance a little bit, I'd feel so much better. Because people who are dancers, I mean, that's why they do it. It's a therapy for them. So if dancing is therapy for somebody and they're not doing it, then shit. They know that. They know. We know. I'm so resistant to physical exercise when I'm upset because that shit will just reset me. I'll just let some shit go. you know? So
Mhm.
my inner critic is like, no, don't do that. You know, the stone that the builder refused will always be the head's cornerstone.
Mhm.
We don't want to do the stuff that's good for us because it'll mean we let go, we'll forgive and move on. The inner critic won't be able to maintain control. We won't be pissed off at them anymore. They won't be able to control us anymore, you know? So
Mhm.
now I know when I'm upset, the stuff that I'm resistant to doing, I know that's exactly what I need to do. Like forgiving someone or something, or saying I'm
Mhm.
sorry, or
Mhm.
working out, just getting it out of my system when it's some just anxious thing going on that actually I have no control or power over or something, you know?
Mhm.
It's like, oh yeah, oh, that'll work. I can tell that'll work because I don't want to fucking do it. So a lot of
Mhm.
times I say that to guys, like, I'm gonna say something, and either you or their inner critic, depends if I use that term with them, but your inner critic's going to want to punch me in the face. And if it
Mhm.
does, that's a really good sign.
Mhm.
It
Mhm.
means that what I'm saying is
There's
accurate
a
and
truth
it's
to it.
probably
Yeah.
really useful.
Yeah. Yeah. And along those lines, I listened to, I can send it to you, this like 2 minute clip of, Andrew Huberman.
Yes, of course.
Okay. So
He's awesome.
yeah, so Huberman did this thing, he was being interviewed by David Goggins, Goggins?
Of course.
Yeah, okay. I just making sure. I thought
Oh,
you
yeah,
did.
for sure.
Okay. So he's being interviewed by Goggins, and basically he says there's this part of our brain, I forgot the name of it, um, but it's basically like almost like a muscle, or in that whenever you do something you don't want to do or are afraid to do, but do it anyway and overcome it, it like works that muscle in your brain.
Yes, correct.
Um, and then that muscle in your brain gets bigger. And
If you keep doing it, otherwise,
you
we
do it and
prune
keep doing it, yeah,
everything, we
yeah,
erase everything right after it happens.
and if you don't, then it shrinks. And so basically, was saying that, for example, like people who are fat, this part of their brain is usually very small. Uh, it's someone who's like a really good
Right.
athlete. Usually, this
Exactly.
part of their brain is really
Yes.
big.
Yes.
And like, for example, like taking an ice bath, uh, is something most people don't want to do.
Right.
So if one was to do that, uh, even if it's for a very short period of time, that part of that muscle in their brain grows.
Yes.
Um, and now, if a person likes taking ice baths, then that muscle in their brain will not grow.
Right.
So,
Correct.
so
Exactly.
even though it's something that most people
Yes.
wouldn't
No,
like to
it was.
do, if they like
No,
to
right.
do it,
Yes.
it doesn't grow that part of their brain. And
Exactly.
so, it's ultimately like, you know, and so like
It is
the other,
going towards fear and pain on purpose.
yeah,
And that
yeah,
what fear and what scares us or causes us pain or something is different for each person based on our
yeah,
life experience. But
Exactly.
it is going towards pain and fear on
hmm
purpose. And yes, it'll be
Exactly.
different for each person what it is. It
hmm
won't be the same thing for each person. Yeah, that's the
Exactly.
lady who's the expert on vulnerability. Which I just love that. I highly recommend that
Brene
Netflix
Brown.
special. Yeah, she's like,
Although,
she's an expert in
oh,
vulnerability, and she says, people come up to me all the time and say, I love your work and your work has made me love being vulnerable. And she says, well, then you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, yeah,
If you're really being vulnerable, you feel terrible and you
yeah, yeah,
feel like the world is ending. Then you know you're doing it right. If you like being vulnerable, that's not vulnerability. That's the shit you like doing, like you're talking about before.
yeah,
It's like, oh,
yeah,
you like ice baths. So that's
yeah.
no big deal for you. You need to take a hot
hmm
bath.
hmm Right.
What were you going to say about Brene?
Oh, well, you see, I still do like her. Um, and I like her work and her message, because I've for a long time I've been a big proponent of vulnerability, and without knowing about her, I've felt like, vulnerability is, or the ability to be vulnerable is like
Mm-hmm.
what true strength is.
Yeah.
Which is kind of along the lines of what we're both saying here,
Yes.
like about the ice bath and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And so when Rogan was giving a platform and having on some of the COVID dissident doctors, like, for example,
Dr. Robert Malone, and a few, and like Peter McCullough, I think, and Brett Weinstein, that when he was having them on, I don't know if you remember this, but this was like in the height of COVID and the vaccine mandate nonsense. And basically, Neil Young basically came out and was like, Spotify, you have to drop Joe Rogan because he's spreading anti-vax misinformation, and this is dangerous. And so you have to drop him. Otherwise, I'm boycotting Spotify, and I'm going to ask other people to also boycott Spotify, you know, as a punishment, unless you drop Joe Rogan.
Do what I say.
And do what I say. And so it's, you know, in the shit lib blue anon community, this started building up momentum. And in that process, people like Joni Mitchell, you know, and people like Neil Young and Joni Mitchell, who used to be like whatever, like hippie, you know, counterculture figures and real artists, all of a sudden, and not only them, but then Brene Brown joined the bandwagon and jumped on the bandwagon. And then, but she was so stupid.
It's just bros doing too much. Stick to vulnerability and stick to writing songs, you know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, you're not good at calculus. Like, don't try and do calculus. Like, goddamn.
Yeah. But Brene Brown, like, whereas Neil Young and Joni Mitchell and people like that, I used to respect them a lot more as an artist. And once they took that stance, like, I felt like that discredited a lot of who they were, or at least who they are now. But Brene Brown, it was in a similar way, like when Noam Chomsky was asked and said, put the unvaccinated in concentration camps. And that totally discredited, I don't say that discredits all this prior work, but the main underlying wisdom of his work, you know, was about human rights and not allowing powerful interests to crush human rights, you know, just because they're a little scared or threatened. And him taking that stance was such a hypocritical stance that it, in some ways, it means that he's just a hypocrite. It doesn't mean his work is discredited, but he's just a hypocrite and he's not who he claims to be.
Yeah.
And Brene Brown, that her work is all about vulnerability, and yet she jumped on a bandwagon that was actually trying to destroy people's vulnerability and attempts while they were vulnerable to stand up to authoritarianism and fascism.
Yeah.
But it wasn't viewed as that because it was, you know, that's the only thing, something right wingers did.
Right.
But whatever, she jumped down and did that, and then it backfired on her. And then because enough of her fan base was not just blue anon, enough of her fan base was people who were like, actually, we like Brett Weinstein, and we don't think he's just an anti-vax kook. You know, we actually think he's being reasonable and rational. And we think that what you've done now is, bless you, what you've done now is discrediting your work because it's so hypocritical. It's
I know, right?
You are the opposite of the person you claim to be. You know, whereas Neil Young and Joni Mitchell, it's like, whatever, they're just old and they're no longer hippies. They're no longer free spirits. They've become the authoritarian fascists, the monsters they set out to hunt originally.
Yeah.
You know, whereas like Brene Brown, you know, it's like, dude, this was your whole, just like Noam Chomsky. It's like, you're like a public intellectual whose whole thing is about, you know, vulnerability and, you know, and true strength, as opposed to like the phony strength and all that, you know, like most people fall for. So I don't know. It was just something that was like really disappointing. And it doesn't, and like with Chomsky, it doesn't mean the great work she's done is now bullshit. It just means she's a flawed human being who's a hypocrite who, you know, like the rest of us, and she's unable to walk the walk, you know. And that doesn't mean don't listen to her and she doesn't have wisdom, but it means that, like whatever.
She a little hypocritical.
Yeah, yeah, but I do like her work and I do like her message, regardless.
Oh yeah, and I mean, it's like if it's about vulnerability, I'll listen to her. But if Joni Mitchell writes a song, I'll listen to that. If she tells me how to make a banana bread or some shit, I might look around a little bit. Lane, go to medical school first or some shit if you're going to talk about medical, or something. Oh, good Lord, bro, I gotta go.
Okay.
I gotta run. It was awesome talking to you. You
Yeah,
always go so
awesome
fast.
talking.
It's just insane.
I know, man, but I'm loving it. This is a great one, man.
I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, definitely, man.
Have a great rest of your day.
Have a great one, buddy.
Okay, cool. Bye.